Hi, I'm Roy Sonne. Welcome to the School of Violin Artistry. I'd like to show you my favorite routine for intonation. Intonation. Here today, gone tomorrow, right? It can get pretty frustrating. We can never stop practicing for intonation. We have to continually refresh it and refine it. What can we do to streamline the process of practicing for intonation? What can we do to make it more enjoyable? Let's start by establishing the intonation and the placement of the fingers in a basic one-octave scale in first position. The scale will always be in the key of the piece you're going to play. Today's piece is the Gavotte from the Partita in E major by Bach. So we'll start with an E major scale. Let's start by just going up and down the scale a couple of times, like this. Very calm, very relaxed. Keep the tone soft and pure. No forcing. Let the hand settle comfortably into the four-finger position so that the fingers are ready to drop right down onto all 8 notes of the scale. I'll say that again. Let the hand settle comfortably into the four-finger position so that the fingers are ready to drop right down onto all 8 notes of the scale. Now I'm going to play the basic double stops within this scale. Let's establish the perfect fifth with the first finger. You can adjust the intonation this way, leaning towards the A string or towards the D string. Take all the time you need to get this perfect fifth reliably in tune. Now I'm adding the second finger, establishing first of all the perfect fourth between B and F sharp. Take your time with this one too. Then I'm moving the second finger over to the A string for the C sharp and making sure that the placement of the second finger is the same on both strings. The distance between 1 and 2 is the same on both strings. Be sure you keep the sound light and soft and pure. No forcing. Now let's add the third finger. Take your time finding the placement of the major third. It must sound in tune harmonically as part of the chord. It must sound in tune harmonically as part of the chord. We are striving for pure intonation, which means chordal intonation. The major third not too high. Learn to locate and recognize the sound of a major third with pure chordal intonation. Now, let's play 1, 2, and 3 on both strings. The distance between the fingers remains the same as we go from string to string. Don't shy away from the major seventh. On the contrary, dwell upon it, savor it. It's part of our language. Let's add the fourth finger on E so that we have the octave frame in place, and also so we have the minor sixth between G sharp and E. Take your time finding that minor sixth and be very sensitive to the distance between the third and fourth fingers. No exaggeratedly high leading tones, please, and no exaggeratedly high major thirds. We're striving for pure intonation, which means chordal intonation. When you start practicing this way, you can start enjoying it. The reason so many people hate practicing for intonation is that they practice with an ugly forced sound. You are creating beauty by means of your skill and your sensitivity. The sensitivity of your hearing, and the sensitivity and the skill of your placement of your fingers. Is this art? Maybe. Is it music? Is it Bach? Not yet, but these are the building blocks of the E major Gavotte, and we want them to be beautiful, sensuously satisfying building blocks. Not ugly, out-of-tune building blocks, and not even neutral building blocks. Let's make these building blocks gorgeous. Do you hate to practice intonation? When you start to practice this way, and when you start to think this way, then you can start finding the joy of it. Yes, that's right. The joy of creating beautiful, sensuous, satisfying sounds. Now, I'm adding the open strings to the mix. I'm adding the open A string, and I'm checking everything out with it. Especially the perfect fourth with the first finger E. Now I'm doing the same with the open E. Learn to enjoy that minor second. You might call it an acquired taste. just going very calmly up and down the scale. Now I'm going to extend the scale. I'm going to go up the scale on the E string, first in single notes and then in double stops. Check out this G sharp with the B and the E. There's our basic E major triad. Now I'm going to extend the scale downward on the G string, first in single notes and then in double stops. Now, I'm going to plug this right into the E major gavotte. Do you see how this is just an extension of what we've already done? My hand is in place, and the patterns are established for just about every note in this first section. Here's the first episode. This B sharp is the first note that's not part of our E major scale. But because the framework is in place, we know exactly where to put that B sharp. Here's the second episode. It's all very familiar, isn't it? Third episode. Here's the passage in thirds from the fourth episode. I'm referring back to the scale and putting all four fingers in place. Now for the next group, I'm moving over one string and moving my first finger to high position. The other fingers are already in place. So, we have established a framework and a method. We've established the sound and the placement of the fingers for probably 80 or 90% of the notes in this gavotte. And once that's in place, the rest of the notes fit in easily into the framework. In part 2, we'll extend this routine to minor scales and to other positions. We'll also explore how we can apply it to music that's more complex harmonically. For the moment, please get your violin out and give this a try. And please leave a comment or question in the comments box.